This presentation was given in Yorkville, Illinois in February 2015 at the Chapel on the Green by organist Martha Price and me, Howard Manthei, to commemorate the 160th anniversary of the building's construction. In this segment, I'll talk about the design of the building. Many people helped in the research for these presentations, and our sincere thanks goes out to all of them. But if you have any suggestions or corrections regarding the presentation, please send them to me at the address on the screen. Now, this presentation will deal with how was a design chosen, and two, who was it that oversaw the construction. Now, thanks to member Stephanie Todd, who did the research on the building, we learned that in 1852, in Albany, New York, the Congregationalists met to approve a set of designs for new churches out west. The publication that they chose and approved was Rural Church Architecture. Now, it contained a number of various designs by a number of different architects, and the Bristol congregation chose number 2. And here's a partial discussion about the details of that design. You may want to pause the presentation to read through. It talks about the size, the capacity, and some of the other features of the building. And a sketch of the design from the front. And side by side, the finished photograph shows that they followed the design rather closely. However, in the next screen you can see here that there's one major change. Do you notice what it is? That's right. Instead of having 4 stained glass windows, they reduced the size of the building down so that there are 3. Now, this is the inside layout of the building. And we were so glad to see this because it does answer a question we've had for a number of years. And that is, in the front of the building, there are 2 doors that today lead to nowhere. But as we reviewed these drawings, we learned that those doors led to stairways up to a singer's gallery on both the left and right of the main entrance. So that was a welcome finding. Now, the second question has to do with who is it in the congregation or in the town that oversaw the actual building of the church. And in a note that was attached to this photograph, a note from 1957, we learned that a fellow by the name of Menzo Lane built the Blackberry Mill in town, but he also oversaw the building of the church. Now, Mr. Lane came from New York, and the Kendall County Record, 1874, details that the family immigrated here in 1837 when he was 10 years old. Now, just 15 years later, Mr. Lane is credited with having oversaw the building of the church itself. Quite an interesting gentleman, and happily in 1874 he met an early untimely death, but it just was a wonderful finding that we were able to find the details about Mr. Lane and his family. This is a photograph. We think it's 1917. There's a 17 in the bottom right hand corner of the picture, and the church looks different because of all of the trees, the way they've grown up, but it still sports the spire, as you can see. That was lost over time. We're not sure when. And inside the church, this is a photo that is in 1955, so it's 100 years after the construction, but fundamentally the same as that drawing detailed. You'll note that there is a pipe organ, dead center, and we have a separate presentation that will talk about that in detail. and the timeline that gives you the big picture of when the congregation started and the various meeting places they had until they finally built their building in 1855 at a cost of $1,000. This is the end of segment 2.